This is ecoTricity's ecoTEC roundup show from Aotearoa's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company. We only source from wind, hydro and solar, and we are the leading supplier of electricity to electric vehicles in Aotearoa. Switch today at ecotricity.co.nz. Welcome back to another roundup in the world of clean cars and green energy. Thank you for joining me. The New York legislature has passed the US's first statewide right to repair bill, a bill which could open the floodgates for other right to repair legislation around the world. While it's not been signed into law by Governor Hochul yet, local news outlets report it hasn't even arrived on her desk yet, this legislation will make it far easier for customers to fix or have their electronic gadgets and their cars fixed by third-party independent specialists. The bill obliges companies to publish technical manuals and make spare parts available to those who need them, and it could make it a lot easier for EVs to remain on the road and operational long after they rolled off the production line. However, while the bill has made it through the legislature, opponents of right to repair, often large corporations, argue that laws like this violate established federal law, namely various copyright acts. Mercedes-Benz has officially priced its EQE midsize electric sedan for the US, releasing official specs at the same time. Built on the EVA2 platform, the EQE is due to launch in the next few weeks, with Mercedes-Benz offering 3 different powertrains with 3 different trim levels each. The entry-level EQE 350 Plus Premium starts from $74,900 before fees, with a 90.6 kilowatt-hour battery pack offering an EPA-approved 305 miles, 490 kilometres of range per charge. Opt for the range-topping EQE 500 4MATIC sedan Pinnacle, and you'll need upwards of $91,500. If you are spending that amount on a luxury car, you don't really need federal tax incentives, which is good, because the EQE is ineligible for them anyway. As we've covered on this channel several times before, the path to fully autonomous vehicles operating on our roads is strewn with metaphorical roadblocks and red tape. Tesla has been dealing with its fair share of that lately, with the California Department of Motor Vehicles and Tesla engaged for months in discussions over the deployment and operation of full self-driving beta in customers' cars within the state, which, according to Bloomberg, resulted in Tesla giving a demo of the system to the California DMV last week. Using a Freedom of Information request, the outlet reports that Tesla had tried to exclude some outside advisors to the DMV, alleging that they had a bias against it and its system. One of those outside advisors had called the term self-driving, quote, very damaging, end quote, while another had called for Tesla to follow the same autonomous vehicle test rules as other companies. Škoda has officially revealed its latest all-electric vehicle in the form of the Škoda Enyaq RS IV, a high-performance wagon sibling to the Enyaq Coupe RS IV. Built on Volkswagen's MEB platform, the Enyaq RS IV features a twin-motor all-wheel drive setup with a total power output of 220 kilowatts. That's about the same as the Volkswagen ID.4 all-wheel drive. 135 kilowatt DC quick charging is standard, as is 11 kilowatt three-phase onboard AC charging and an 82 kilowatt-hour battery pack offering a claimed 500 kilometres, 310 miles of range on the WLTP test cycle. This is yet another forbidden car for those of us in North America, and while it's not sports car fast, the sprint time is just under 6.5 seconds, I think this is one that will sell very well in Europe if it is priced right. Earlier this year, we told you that Ford had reached out to its dealerships and told them they had until the end of October to decide if they wanted to opt into Ford's official EV dealership program. In addition to gaining official certified status as an EV specialist, the program would have required dealerships to spend upwards of $1.2 million for the privilege, ensuring that they had all of the necessary servicing and charging equipment required by Ford. This week, Ford confirmed that it had extended that deadline to December December 2nd, declining to comment on how many dealerships have signed up thus far. While this will be a good barometer to see how Ford dealerships feel about EVs, those who don't sign up will only be able to sell and service Ford's internal combustion engine and hybrid-engined vehicles, although I should note that Ford will give dealerships another chance to sign up in about 4 years. The Tesla Cybertruck is, I think it's fair to say, the most highly anticipated vehicle that Tesla has ever made, and exactly when it will roll off the production line has been the topic of great discussion this week. On Tuesday, Reuters cited insiders at the company who claim that Tesla will not start mass-producing the Cybertruck for more than a year. While Tesla had been promising early production will start in the middle of next year, there's been no real firm commitments about high-volume production, which does give some credence to this report. However, it is also important to note that most new vehicle production lines take a while to get going, with anywhere from 6 months to a year being a fairly standard wait time between initial production and high-volume production. Given this will be an entirely new line at Tesla's Gigafactory in Texas, I don't think that this report is unexpected. Modern electric cars have some pretty amazing technology in them, including the ability to remotely authorize payment at some charging stations thanks to things like plug and charge. But are our electric cars and the charging stations we use to charge them secure? That was the question last week when the US government held a cybersecurity executive forum on EV charging infrastructure, hosted by the Office of the National Cyber Director, ONCD for short. The forum focused on examining the current cybersecurity threats that exist, how to mitigate them, and how to ensure best practices are carried out moving forwards. While we don't know the exact specifics of what was discussed for obvious reasons, we can hope that the security of payment information was also touched on. Moving forwards, I think we can expect more forums like this to take place globally. Since the start of production last year, Rivian has gradually ramped up its R1T and R1S production and delivery figures. Those who have taken delivery thus far are customers who opted to get the large battery pack, a 135 kilowatt-hour pack that gives the R1T quad motor around 314 miles, 505 kilometers on the EPA test cycle. But those who wanted the max pack, an even larger battery capable of storing 180 kilowatt-hours of energy, have been in a bit of a holding pattern to get theirs, and this week Rivian reached out to Max Pack reservation holders to tell them that the wait isn't over yet. We've heard reports that some customers are being told they'll see their trucks in mid-2023, while others are being told it'll be 2024 before theirs is ready. Here in the US, demand for the humble minivan is a fraction of what it once was, with many former minivan customers opting instead for pretty sizable SUVs. But that's not true in other parts of the world. This week, Chinese premium automaker Zeekr, which is owned by Geely, the same automotive giant that owns Volvo, Polestar, Lotus and many others, unveiled a full-size electric minivan that shows, in China at least, demand is still strong. Called the Zeekr 009, the electric minivan is packed full of technology and was designed in Gothenburg, Sweden by a team led by former Audi designer Stefan Schilaf. Aimed squarely at the upper-middle-class customer, the Zeekr 009 has a claimed range of up to 510 miles, 822 kilometers on the Chinese test cycle, but we'd take that figure with a pinch of salt. It's official. After months of negotiations and countless meetings, the European Union has finally reached a deal to ban the sale of all new internal combustion engine cars. Coming into effect in 2035, the ban was sealed by agreement on Thursday night, with car makers required to reduce the emissions of new cars sold by 55% compared to 2021 levels by 2030, followed then by a 100% cut in emissions 5 years later. While there's still some formalities to be carried out, the Parliament and Member States must formally approve it before it becomes law, all negotiators seem happy with the deal as it stands. One of the concessions reached, though, is a pretty big loophole. Automakers who make less than 10,000 cars per year will not be required to cut their emissions. So, So Ferrari, Lamborghini et al. Can carry on making gas-guzzling supercars. Before we get to the last two stories, a quick question. Are you in the market for a new car? Well, if you are, and you live in Aotearoa, you should totally check out our very own EV Buyer's Guide at ecotricity.co.nz. It is packed with all the information you need to pick a car that's right for you and includes plenty of details about incentives you can get, charging providers you can charge up with, and of course, how to get charging at home. Follow the link below and start your journey today. Regardless of how you feel about him and his policies, it's a well-known fact that the current US president, unlike his predecessor, is a total car guy. And in fact, the president has reminded us of that fact lots of times during his time in office, managing to secure more time behind the wheel of a car than any president I can think of in living memory, because US presidents aren't normally allowed to drive. We've seen the president take a prototype Ford F100 Lightning for a spin, drive a Hummer EV, and this week, thanks to Jay Leno's garage, drive the Ford F100 Eluminator resto mod. Sadly, I cannot share the footage of him driving it because copyright, but the president said three things about the F100 Eluminator he drove on a closed course. Namely, that 1, it's, quote, quiet as hell, end quote, 2, it goes good, and 3, it has a quicker response than a gas car. Quite. And finally, the first prototype test tunnel built by the Boring Company was a tunnel designed to not only prove the Boring Company could, you know, make tunnels, but also to revolutionise the way we get around cities. But while the Boring Company has gone on to build the Las Vegas tunnel system and has others in the pipeline, Bloomberg reported this week that the original tunnel in Hawthorne, California, about 1 mile in length, starting from the SpaceX parking lot, is no more. Instead, all trace of the tunnel has vanished and, as the Boring Company has moved its headquarters to Texas, there's no need for that tunnel to exist anymore. Thus, SpaceX, whose lot the tunnel was built on, has closed it up. In the tunnel's place, expansion of SpaceX's existing car park, and no yellow taxis in sight. And on that note, we are done for the day. Before I go, though, do make sure that you've hit that notification bell so you don't miss out in the latest in EV news from this channel. And of course, if you haven't switched yet, why not switch to Aotearoa's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company? It is super easy to make that switch, and in doing so, you'll help the nation wean itself off dirty energy and onto clean, green power that will keep the land beautiful for generations to come. I will be back soon with more awesome content, as will the lovely Gavin Kiwi EV Shoebridge. If you haven't already watched his Peugeot video, go watch it now. And of course, I will be back next weekend for the usual roundup show. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Nikki Gordon Bloomfield. Ka kite. See you next time.